Welcome to the Whiskey Explorer. Thanks so much for tuning in for another episode, guys. And if you haven't done so already, if you could please do us a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment down below. I'm really curious to know if you guys have tried this Clyde Mays single barrel selection. And, leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you've tried it, or, if there's a liquor store near you that has one. If you've tried it, let me know what you think. All right, and tonight we have got the Clyde Mays single barrel bourbon whiskey, and this is a store pick all the way from Honolulu, Hawaii, from Tamara's Fine Wine and Spirits. All right, so this is a bottle that is on loan to me from my buddy Kyle. So thanks so much, Kyle, for the loan on this to review on the channel. And this was actually a store pick of Clyde Mays that he picked up when he was in Honolulu. So this comes from Tamara's Fine Wine and Liquor. And of course, I did the research for him to tell him where to go to buy bourbon because secretly, I wanted him to hunt for himself. But of course, selfishly, I wanted him to hunt for me. So he did end up with this Clyde Mays barrel pick, and this is barrel number 2 for those of you that are following. All right, so what is cool about this is that it says that it is non-chill filtered right there on the bottle. Kind of cool different labeling as well. The Clyde Mays has just came here, but it's really expensive. It's about $80 a bottle Canadian. So from what I've heard, it's not that great, so I haven't kind of dove into that, and I don't really want to spend that kind of money just to be disappointed by the bourbon. But when he saw this, he thought it was a cool pickup, and I think, it is cool that it's a barrel pick from Hawaii. Very cool. And so what we know about this, so what I kind of was able to kind of figure out, it says down here that it's distilled and aged for 5 years in charred American oak barrels, handcrafted following the original recipe. This is bottled at 51% alcohol by volume, or 102 proof. And now here's where it gets interesting. So it says, that it's distilled and, barreled according to the original recipe, yada, yada, yada. But if you turn around to the back here, you can see that it is actually distilled in Indiana, meaning this is sourced MGP. So I don't really know how much of these original recipe that it refers to that they're following. And they go into a little bit further on the back here where it says, early on, he discovered his proprietary award-winning Alabama-style recipe, and later in his life, he perfected it by using different proportions of grains in his mash. Aspiring to that same spirit, this limited edition single-barrel straight bourbon has a distinctive, bolder mash bill than our premium, smooth, straight bourbon whiskey. So they're kind of claiming that it's their own recipe. I just think it's a proprietary recipe used by MGP. Those are just my thoughts on it. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that. But let's get into the bourbon itself. All right. So the first thing that I noticed about this, he brought this over the other night for us to try. And he generously let me hang on to the bottle for this review. But let's have a quick look at the glass, because this is something that I noticed right away. So look how light that color is in the glass for a 5-year MGP source bourbon that is 102 proof. That is quite a light, almost like bordering towards straw color in the glass. So it's very light in color. So that was kind of interesting to me right away. And let's go in for a nose, and I'll try to give you guys some notes on the nose here. Cheers. Okay, so there's like a nice kind of sweet kind of cherry note, but like fresh cherries, not the deep dark kind of like, sat in the cellar to kind of age in its own juices. Not that type of dark cherry, not like an older bourbon. Again, we're dealing with a slightly older than 5-year-old bourbon, so basically about 5 years and 3 months or so on this one here. There's also like a sweet kind of almost like confectionery sugar note to this, like icing sugar. Maybe even like a strawberry or a cherry cotton candy. Very sweet and inviting on the nose. I do like that nose. There is also a little bit of a citrusy note in the background there, so almost like a sweet lemon citrus, like almost like a lemon sorbet ice cream, that type of thing. Maybe you could even stretch that to like, orange cream, orange creamsicle. There is that citrusy layer in there, and especially in the background. And then, yeah, again, that fruity kind of fruit cup, or like, cherry, young cherry, kind of fresh cherry nose in the front. Vanilla, sugary sweetness. All right, let's go in for a taste. Cheers. Okay, so I would say the youth of this bourbon does definitely show up on the palate. I know that it's a 5-year, likely MGP bourbon, but you do get a grainy kind of note right on the offset of this. And my buddy was not super stoked on this, so I think that's sort of what he's picking up, is that grainy, youthful note. It almost reminds me of the rabbit hole that I reviewed on the channel, the cave hill. I'll put a card up here for you guys. So it does have kind of like a young, kind of grainy texture and note to it. There is actually a little bit of mouth coating here, which is nice. I mean, 102 proof, so I guess we'd expect a little bit of that, sort of medium-bodied. There's a sugary sweetness to it, but it's very simple. It's not complex. There's a little bit of that kind of fresh cherry, young cherry note in the front. That is probably actually the dominant note. A little bit of sweetness there, like that fruit cup that I had mentioned. So a little bit of the young kind of strawberry or raspberry or cherry kind of note. Let's go in on the palate again here. Let's try it again. Cheers. So another place where you can detect the youth is the ethanol note. This definitely drinks hotter than 102 proof. When my buddy and I first sat down with this to have a glass, we thought it drank closer to the 110 proof mark. So it does drink a lot hotter than what the proof is. And that is another kind of indication to the youth of the spirit. Again, it's 5 years old. We're not expecting it to be super, deep and complex, and, to have all those nice, rich kind of molasses and coffee and kind of mocha and deep cherry notes that you would in an older age bourbon. But this is kind of very shiny on the palate, grainy, ethanol forward, definitely very kind of quite spiky. There is in the mid palate that sweet kind of cherry note mixed in with a little bit of vanilla. One nice thing about it, one positive I will say, is that it is kind of mouth coating. So you do get that, and it is non-chill filtered, so that is nice. But I would have to say I would have to pass on this one, and I'm really curious to know if anyone's tried one of these Clyde Mays single barrel straight bourbon whiskeys, one of these single barrel selections. I'd really like to know your thoughts on it, so if you could leave me a comment down below, let me know if you'd smash or pass on this, if you had to choose again. For me, it's a pass. For my buddy, it was a pass too. So I do thank you guys for joining me for this review, and until next time, may your sails be full and your drams be fuller. Cheers.